with us all of your dreams. Yin and Young, gotta learn how to fight. Be yourself in this life. It's alright. Welcome back. This is Yin and Young, the podcast. I believe this is episode 31. Wow. And we're here today. Today's a very special episode. I say that for every episode, but this is really a special episode with Vicky Luu. Yay! And we have returning guest. Laura Cox.
Woo! Cool.
So first off, a little bit background about me and Vicky. So Vicky and I went to the same high school, but we didn't really know each other then. No, and we met up because a mutual friend of ours connected us. You know, he said, "Oh, hey, you know my friend Vicky, she's in LA, and you guys should hang out, or because you're in similar fields." And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll give it sure, why not? I'm always down to meet other people, yeah. And so we connected, but it was like we connected, and then I totally forgot about, it was like we connected to say, hey, I think you were in busy season or something. And then I was, okay, well, I'll message you. I was like, okay. But in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I should reconnect with her. And then I think months later, I think it was after our program, and I was like kind of in that post-graduation depression, that I was like, oh, you know what, I should go message, I should try to meet people, because it's kind of like that slump after
the post-graduation depression that's still happening.
Yes. a year later, exactly a year later. So we met up and got coffee, and we chatted it up, and it was like, I thought that it was great connecting. And I did feel that it's always good to meet up with an M-Town homie. So M-Town, Milpitas homie. So and chop it up. And also, I thought you seemed very kind and gracious with your time. And I was wondering if you wanted to be on the show, and you were very kind to come on. So I'm glad to have you. Yay!
Thank you. It was good meeting up with you. Side story on the person that connected us was actually my very first boyfriend.
Oh, ooh.
In middle school.
Yes.
So shout out to Anson.
It
was the least relationship in the world. So I don't think we did anything. I think we held hands maybe a couple times.
Wow, dude, that's like so intimate back in middle school.
Yeah, but it was purely out of peer pressure that we dated. And I feel bad.
Anson.
He was a great guy. He's a very nice man. Okay. But it was one of those things where
at that point he was a boy, but yeah.
At that point, he still is. No, I'm married now with a wifey. But at the time, it was one of those situations where I was in middle school and everyone was like, "Who do you like? Who do you like?" And like everyone had a crush on somebody, and I had no crushes. I was pretty asexual, and people that I was kind of drawn to, I couldn't really admit or place of what that feeling was. So I literally said Anson's name just simply out of pure pressure of who is the nicest guy I know. I just said Anson. And then everyone's like, oh my God. And then I thought I could just say it and just, that was the end of it and nothing would ever happen. But then there was this and then there's just the culture of middle school of just someone told Anson, and then they were just people just pushed us together. It was well, you guys should date because you're both just nice people, and it's a huge mistake. But I care about him still, and it's a great memory to have.
And
I don't know how he feels about it, but
if it wasn't for that middle school embarrassment, I don't know if he would have connected us. To be honest,
exactly. So that led to this.
Yeah.
That led to
I
this.
knew that would relationship would pay off someday.
You and James connected.
You never know how the winds work, and now you're happily married with a beautiful wife. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love her. We've been married for, let's see, how long have we been married for? We've been married for 3 years.
Okay.
We've been together for 8.
Damn.
Coming up 3 years. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's a long time.
So, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Too long. I'm just kidding.
Too long? Like, were you guys holding off on marriage, or was it just?
I think
whenever I ask, you feel you can always press the stop, this imaginary stop button. James, stop. Yeah. So don't ever feel pressure.
James, too much.
Too much. Yeah. It's not like I'm trying to get you high or anything. Or yeah.
Well, for me, my wife Haley, she and I, it was sort of our. I don't know, it was like our longest relationship for both of us. Like, she'd been in a couple of fairly long-term relationships, but for me, and so we just kind of like, and we were like younger when we got together, so it wasn't, we decided to have like a couple of landmarks where like, we won't move in until 2 years because we didn't want to be like the stereotype of lesbians that like date for 2 weeks and then move in together. And then,
is that a stereotype?
You show up to your first date.
Yeah, it's like, what do you bring? It's like, first date is whatever, second date is bring a U-Haul. Anyways.
Wow. Okay.
You've never heard this?
I'm so outside of the LGBT community. I should know more.
You gotta get in there.
Yeah.
You
gotta get in there.
Yeah, you gotta get in there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
just
Laura.
ready
Mess
you.
around, see what's going on.
Well, Pride Month's next month, so we gotta hang out. Yeah.
Spectrum. Everything's a spectrum now.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, it's a spectrum. Yeah. Sure.
So yeah, we were just together for a while, and it was just like she was finishing school, and I was sort of kind of like freelancing and stuff and unemployed for a while. So we just like were in no place to sort of get married.
Okay.
So we got married when we were both like in a better place in our lives and just could afford it.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was time. Yeah.
Pause. I'm gonna close that door a little bit.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Here, let's probably
I'm just gonna leave it a crack open. Just pour some air. I don't know if you guys are like paranoid like me, but like if like all the windows are closed or something, I feel like I'm gonna suffocate. Or like, I think I learned it from my mom. I don't know if it's an Asian thing or it's just a James she family thing, but my brother and sister are the same way. They all, like when they sleep, they always have to have a window crack open, even if it's hella cold or hella hot or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if that, anyways.
So that trumps the fear of like an outsider coming in through the window?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Seriously?
Well, no, actually
I
have thought about that. But I would assume that there's like the the screen that the intruder has to get
That
through.
doesn't do anything.
Well, there's the blinds. They make sound.
Yeah.
I mean, come on,
Yeah.
they're gonna make some
I
sound.
don't know, man.
So you lock
Golden
it.
State Killer.
Oh
Got him
shit.
through a lot of windows.
Oh, yeah, the
Sorry,
Golden
sorry.
State Killer. He got caught.
Dark.
It's okay, he got caught.
Speaking
Yeah,
of dark,
eventually.
fun fact about Vicky that I know is that she loves true crime.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Me
That's
too.
true.
So-
I exclusively listen to like true crime podcasts.
My favorite
I
part.
listen to it too. I had to take a break. It's like I have to take a time out right now because I was
So-
getting into a really dark place.
So one topic I wanted to explore was this. So tangent. I was at DMV today, and there was an attractive woman in the line. We chatted it up, and she's into mind hunters.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys seen it, but we were talking about like serial killers and the mind of serial killers. And I was like, wow, I'm really attracted to this girl for some reason. But so we're gonna try. We're trying to set up a date. But anyways, this idea of Neil Gaiman, he had a quote about a young female writer wrote him and said, "Hey, my parents are worried about me being a horror or dark story writer, like write about murders, that's the kind of stuff." And his response was, some of the most dark and depressed people I've ever met were comedians. Whereas some of the most happy and happy-go-lucky people I've met, in my experience, this is Neil Gaiman speaking, were people who wrote horror or wrote like dark stories like he does, supernatural, whatever. And I thought that I was very curious about that. Like, and speaking to Vicky about this, I was like, maybe because like when you watch a comedy show, you're kind of like, this is work, I guess. Or what's your thoughts on that?
On how
The
fucked
connection.
up I am?
No, yeah. Why are you so fucked up? I mean, like, so okay. So for our listeners, Vicky is a comedy writer. She writes for a sitcom known as Superstore. Yeah, and so I guess when you are away from writing Superstore, how do you kind of like relax or refill the tank? The artists talk about refilling the tank after, because writing takes a lot out of you.
Right, yeah. I mean, I do various things. I would say sometimes watching a comedy can feel like a little bit of homework.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So I'll try to like, because I mean, some of my favorite shows, I end up just watching a lot of dramas, and those are ones that either dramas or like procedurals, because then I could just sit down and zone out and like not have to think about
Okay.
like if this is any good, because I just know I'm like, this is what this is. It's a procedural, and it's
Right.
very enjoyable for what it is.
Right.
But outside of writing, I don't know, I tried to, I mean, it sounds corny, but I just try to live life. Like I like to go camping and hiking and just be outside and outdoors and be a little bit away from like screens, because most of our job is sitting and staring at a screen while we talk, and like someone's typing on the screen and we're just staring at it for a long time. Or like writing a script, you're just in front of your computer for hours. So a lot of it is just separating that and just living life to a different degree and being around people and catching up and talking face to face with people. So it is
Yeah.
just like having experiences, because you have to sort of like write from somewhere and get something from it. So trying to do that is probably, but I mean, I also watch as much TV as possible just
Yeah,
to see
yeah.
what's out there, even if it's stuff that I like hate watch a lot of things. I won't name names.
You hate watch. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Maybe not. Is that a term you know?
I guess I see. Okay, lesbians moving in. Hate watch. I'm so.
I didn't. That's not a gay thing.
No,
hate
that's
watching
not
is like
fair at all, yeah. It's universal.
hate
I'm writing
watching
it down.
is universal.
We're
for
the
all-
same
all
age-ish,
genders.
so it's not
all
like-
genders, all
Yeah.
Yeah. Hate watch. Lesbians moving in.
Hate watch. I mean, you don't hate watch anything, James?
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Some-
you know what it is.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is not very good, but I'm going to watch all 10
Yeah.
episodes just so I can be angry about it. And I don't know why. It's just like commentary to
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
And then I talk
like
to other people
masochism? Okay,
about
yeah.
how much I don't like it.
Wow. Okay. Because for you to make that accurate assessment, you actually have to watch it, I guess, right? Or-
Yeah, I'm giving it a very fair chance.
You're giving it a fair chance.
Because some people are like, it gets really good episode 5. There's like always those series. And I'm like, okay, I have to watch
Okay.
5 episodes before the show gets good. But you're like, okay. And sometimes I will take someone's word for it and watch up until 5. And then usually if that's the case, I ended up being like, yeah, it was okay. Like I watched everything. But
Nice.
but just to like learn, I mean, everything is a learning experience. And also everything, even if I don't like something, I understand there's like an audience for it somewhere out there. And I know that, I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to make a show. You're putting a lot on the line, and it's so much pressure to just put something out there, and just you hope for the best, and you hope for people to really like it or relate to it. And, you know, it doesn't always work for everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Top 3 things that you enjoy doing that does not involve a screen.
It does not involve a screen.
Top 3, or you could say it's in my top 5, but I'm gonna list 3 if that gives you less pressure.
Well, I like camping.
Camping. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I like eating out with friends.
Okay. Cool.
And what is something else that I would say? Just like hiking. I know it's like similar to camping.
No,
but
that's fine.
the
Hiking.
other- yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 things that I like.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So you're very nature oriented. Yeah.
A little bit.
That's
I
cool.
mean, the other one, I'm gonna sneak in another one. I
Oh,
also
how
like just
dare
like
you.
going to bars with people and
Okay.
catching up with friends and like drinking and dancing.
You can kind of group that, I guess, with eating with friends, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Those are my top. Those 3 are in my top 10, I think. Yeah. of things that do not involve screens that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
So, one thing. Any questions, Laura, Daniel?
I'm waiting
Yeah.
to see how this unfolds, and I'm just interested.
Okay, because you know me, Daniel. I usually do the biography segment. Like we go through her biography, and then we open
Right.
up to questions ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Daniel, do you want to do anything before I get into that, or?
No, why don't we jump into that? That'd be interesting.
Okay, so Vicky, like you grew up in, you're born and raised in the Bay Area.
Born and raised in the Bay Area, Milpitas, the great 408. No one calls it that but me, I think. But
I'll start saying it just to
yeah.
make you feel happy. Yeah.
to write that down.
Okay.
You're not writing it down. But
Great. Oh wait, I have to switch it.
so yeah, I grew up there, and then I
gonna
went
drink.
to USC for college. So we can start from there. I don't think we need to start from like when I was a child.
No, sorry, Vicky. This is not your show.
8 years old, I was.
Your trauma, your childhood trauma, what's going on?
Childhood trauma. How long is this podcast?
So growing.
No, I can mention that growing up as a kid, I really liked writing a lot, kind of off the bat. So
Yeah.
It was probably my favorite, I guess you say, like, subject when you had to do, like, because I, like, was horrible at math. I was, like, okay at, like, drawing and coloring and, like, all that other things. But, like, we had, in 3rd grade, I still remember Mrs. Kim, she's one of my favorite teachers and inspiration.
Okay.
She had this little hour called, like, Writer's Workshop Hour. And so we would just write for an hour, and she would either give us a topic, or we would just kind of write anything that we wanted to, and we would write all these, like, short stories, and I found myself getting really into it, and I would write probably more than necessary, and I think it was just, like, this little overachiever in me. None of it was good, but I was writing a lot, and it was just, it was like everyone was writing 3 pages, and I was writing, like, 6, so it's not, like, it wasn't crazy, but just, like, I just found myself drawn to it. And she was really nice. She really encouraged me. She just saw that I was into it, and I had these, like, I guess, like, interesting stories that I wanted to tell, interesting to me.
I'm curious, what did you like to write about at that? So this is around middle school age, or?
This was 3rd grade.
3rd grade,
Yeah.
wow, okay.
So, I mean, I can maybe remember some of the things I wanted. It was just, I mean, I can't even think of, what did I like writing about back then? It was various things. It was like...
Were you ever into Goosebumps at all, or not really?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Goosebumps,
This was great.
Yeah.
Choose Your Adventure Goosebumps. Great. I would always cheat, though. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
You'd always what?
I would just cheat, where you, like, look ahead, and you're like, what's better?
I would try, like, the first 2 times, and then get frustrated whenever I died, and then go back and then cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone's done that.
Yeah. It's human nature.
Yeah. It was bad. I would, like, read it. I would cheat and then, like, accomplish it, and then act as if I didn't cheat. Like, I chose all the right ones, Mom. And she's like, okay.
But in your heart,
I knew.
I personally wanted to see every option. That's how crazy. I would go, I want to die. I want to, like, semi not die. And then I want to see, what happens if I win? I guess there's always that winning path. But anyways. But yeah, so 3rd grade. So would you say that's your first spark of, like, creativity with writing, maybe? Or
Yeah, probably. I would say that. And then from
Shout
there
out to
was,
Mrs.
like...
Kim,
and then from there, like, lay dormant for a while, and then I went to... I'm going to jump ahead now. And then I went to college.
If you need to, yeah.
So from 3rd grade, I went...
So you graduate from 3rd grade, you went straight to college.
I went straight to college. I Doogie Howsered it to USC and I went for film and television production.
This is your undergrad, or?
This is my undergrad.
Okay, cool.
So did that for 4 years, and it was really interesting. It was fun because I started out wanting to do sort of editing and directing.
Yeah. Okay. Production-ish.
Production stuff. I really liked editing a lot at the time. And then I realized it was a very solitary life. And I don't know. And it's just like, people who are good editors are, like, amazing at it. And I just found myself, I could do, like, a 10-minute short film. Sure. But, like, thinking of doing, like, an hour or, like, up to, like, 2.5 hours, I'm like, I was like,
it's a beast.
It's a beast. And so I found myself, after graduating from USC, I just stayed in LA to try and work.
So you graduated USC at the age of 12,
at
I'm
12
guessing?
years old.
Just note to the audience, this is called joking. She was actually, she graduated at the correct, the appropriate, I don't know.
Appropriate age.
The appropriate age, I guess, is the term. But yeah.
I graduated in 2007, so you can say.
Yeah.
And then, and then I just started, I had a little bit of struggle. I was like, am I going to stay in LA, or do I be moving back home to Northern California? Because I really liked Northern California, and I still do.
In your early 20s, so you're kind of
you're
trying to figure stuff out.
Not sure what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah. Doing that now, early 30s. Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely still doing that now.
Oh, okay.
Miss my family a lot, miss my friends from back home. So it was a lot of that, like a lot of homesickness even after. And I really liked LA, but I think going to college in LA, I didn't have, like, I had this, like, go to school and, like, finish school, and that was, like, my mentality, like, ingrained in me from being, like, my parents' Asian child, of just, like, don't lose focus. Like, you know, it's a private school. We can only pay for these 4 years, so you have to graduate.
You have
There's
to finish
no
in the
exception.
4. Yeah.
And so I just like grinded it out until I could graduate. And then, so I didn't really have like a crazy social life, I should say. I was like just very bookish and sort of straight edge. And then after graduation,
Straight
I
edge.
just,
I
like,
know this word, Laura. Yeah, so, yeah.
after
Very good, James.
Thank
Very
Thank
good.
you. I'm looking for female validation. Yeah.
and then afterwards, my first job was I got a job as like a PA, so I just ended up staying in LA.
Doing production, okay.
Yeah, purchase it. And I was a PA for many, many, many years. So I was a PA for most of my feels like most of my life I was a production assistant.
Wow. Well, it feels that way, yeah, because production can be a drag, right?
Yeah, and it was like somewhat steady work, but I was freelancing a lot. It was like you'd work for a couple months and then like offer unemployment for a couple months and then back on. And I mean, my first job was literally cleaning a toilet. Like, so it was like real. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad my parents paid for my private school education so I could go into this this room and like unclog a toilet.
Well, that toilet is for a very famous person, I guess, or I don't know. Who, it doesn't matter.
It was for, I mean, I could tell you that I worked on, I mean, I can't tell the specific show, but I did work on, I started off doing a lot of reality television, which is an interesting world all on its own.
All right.
Everyone over was amazing though. Like everyone was just kind of like good cast, good crew. Like everyone was very, very nice and just like you learn on the job, you know, and you just see all these people that have been in the industry for a while.
Yeah.
And it's a weird world though, celebrities, because it's a lot of like you're working with a lot of like sort of like D-list celebrities, but you have to treat them as if they're like royalty, and you're just like, I mean, I don't know, aren't we kind of the same right now?
Yeah,
I mean, like we're at the same level. I don't know if I need to
But they're
like
talent,
not
right?
talk to you or like divert my attention from you, but it was learning a lot of like the darker side of things. But yeah, and then from there, freelanced a bunch. And I would say I got my first office like PA job at Family Guy.
Okay.
And I was there for a while. Met a lot of great people, and I met my writing partner there.
Shout out to Bridget. Yeah.
Yeah, and so from there we ended up leaving and being executive assistants to two other guys that were on Family Guy. They left to make their own show, and we kind of joined them. And it was from there we decided to become writing partners, because we were sort of like, hey, maybe they'll have a freelance script for us, so why don't we write something together, so it's like less competition, and we'll submit something together and maybe they'll give us a script. Because for most shows they have to do at least one freelance script.
Okay.
And it's usually like they'll give it to like the writer's assistant or the executive assistant, or they'll even like hire someone from the outside to come in. So we were hoping for that freelance script. Show got canceled. Episode got canceled. So no freelance script.
Can you mention the show, or no? Can't really.
You can look it up, but
I'll look it up.
Show.
Yeah.
And then, from there we had a script that we actually liked, and we gave it to our bosses, and they were very generous. They read it, and they passed it along to their agents, which were very nice also, and they wanted to meet with us, and it was at UTA, and we got signed with them, and it sort of avalanched from there.
Dan, you know UTA?
Yeah, United Talent Agency. They're pretty big.
Yeah. So they were.
We had a teacher from UTA.
Yeah.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
Who we.
He was a real stinker.
Sorry.
But no disrespect to UTA.
No, it's good. No, it's a very intimidating place. I remember our meeting because we went into the lobby and everything is like so shiny. Everyone's just like in black. And like the receptionist is like this tall model, and I remember sitting on like the couch that's and literally my legs are just like dangling like I'm a little kid. And this model comes over and is like, "Would you like some water?" And I'm just like, "No," like my voice is cracking all of a sudden. And we go in, and it's just like it was an really intimidating environment, but they ended up being really cool, and sort of avalanche from there. We got our first writing gig at Marry Me. Which was just, we couldn't have been more blessed with like a first experience, because everyone in that room was so nice, so funny, and just like so great. And it was just like an unfortunate thing that it only lasted one season, because even the cast was really funny and great. It was fun though. It was a good first experience. Kind of like, we got lucky, because there's a lot of horror stories you hear about going into your first writer's room. Like, You're always rolling the dice. You don't know what kind of environment it's going to be and how you're going to feel as like a female writer of color, and just like you just don't know what that's going to be like. But from there we did, after remember we were on The Grinder. That was on Fox.
Oh, yes. I watched that show.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Which episodes were you credited with, or you and Bridget credited with? Yeah.
I couldn't.
Can't tell.
I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It's listed on IMDb.
IMDb.
But,
If you want, we'll leave her IMDb in the comments below, the show notes.
And then after Grinder, only lasted for one season, unfortunately, we jumped onto Superstore. At the time, it was on its second season when we joined.
Okay.
And so we've been there ever since, and we're gonna start up the fourth season in actually next week.
Sounds good.
The writers' room starts up next week.
So I caught you right before the storm.
Yeah, right before the storm.
Yeah.
But that's it in a nutshell.
That's it. That's Vicky in a nutshell. Yay.
Yeah.
Dan, what'd you think of Grinder?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I think I enjoy those shows where they have some aging star from some Hollywood star who's like going back into regular life. It's kind of like the bitch from Apartment 23 or whatever, where they had James Van Der Beek.
Yeah. That was a great show.
Also canceled.
Yeah.
No, canceled before its time. Kristen Ritter is really funny.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to touch on, like in these writer rooms, are you usually the only person of color, or is it fairly diverse now?
It's been like for most of my shows I've been the only person of color. And so I am filling the diversity quota. But Superstore was probably the most diverse writing staff I've been on with. And then I would say Superstore is the most diverse. But yeah, I mean, it's always interesting because my writing partner is a white lady. And so she and I are always, it's very interesting because we're sort of diverse all around, because we're like two women, we're a 2-for-1 deal. A writing partnership, you're splitting a salary, and then for me, like, I cover diversity. So it is like an interesting thing to go into it, knowing that you are filling that slot, but at the same time you want to, it's like a mixed feelings. It's like I understand that I'm filling a quota, but once you're in there, it's sort of the challenge is to make it known that you're not just there to fill like a quota, you know, that you are a good writer and you're worth keeping around, so not just to like, you know, be that diversity person.
So you do feel a little bit of that pressure to prove yourself, I guess, maybe, or you personally like to get the job done. It seems like you, as a kid, you were kind of like overachiever anyway. So
Right.
yeah, so but I guess when you're in the room, you gotta get shit done, I guess, right? Or
right. Yeah. I think any writer starting out wants to prove themselves.
Sure,
you know.
sure,
So it's like it's I would say I felt definitely a little. It's like it's always there, right? You just want to make sure I'm not just like, hey, I'm not just here to fill a quota. Like it's always just kind of like in the back of your head, and you just want to make sure that you're. And it's like, I mean, for me, it's been the challenge of like, oh, am I just here to like be here and like fill a slot, or am I actually being like appreciated as a writer? And so it's always something that's like gnawing in the back of your head. But most writers are anxious about one thing or another. You're like constantly filled with anxiety, and I mean the environment for it is, even though everyone's really nice, it's so nerve-wracking because you're just there to like pitch ideas and pitch jokes. Especially in comedy, you're like pitching jokes and pitching stories, and you're just hoping that what you say at the end of this, people laugh and there's not just silence when you stop talking. And so it's like every time I open my mouth, I start talking, and then in my head I'm just like, oh, this is a terrible idea. Why did I start talking? Maybe something awful will happen. Maybe the fire alarm will go off, and then I just won't have to finish the sentence.
Oh, wow.
And so like a lot of those internal thoughts go through your head at the end of just like a pitch. And you're just,
has that ever happened where it was just crickets?
I mean, yes, probably.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you're pitching a lot.
Yeah, you're pitching a lot, so not everything. Even like the most veteran people, like it's you get a couple of hits and misses, but
Okay.
but it's like how you recover from that is like sort of, and a lot of it is you just take it. You just can't win. You can't always win, and so you just have to bow out gracefully and not re-pitch, which is like one of the worst things you can do. Like,
okay.
Like if you think no one
Rephrase
laughs,
it.
Like
Yeah.
you're like that stand-up who like gets mad at the audience for
Yeah.
not laughing.
So you say the
you're
joke
like, maybe you
again.
guys didn't hear
Yeah, it's
me.
like, yeah.
I said,
You're
and you're like,
wrong.
no, everyone always hears you. So if you're hit with silence, don't re-pitch anything.
So Laura, like, I want to bring Laura into this. As far as like the writers having anxiety, do you find that true from your own experience, or
Oh, from my experience as a
from as twofold, like yourself as a writer and you having met lots of writers in your life? Yeah.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a deeply medicated person, medicated and deeply anxious person. And I mean, I think that our MFA cohort is it's full of people who
Really
are
with anxiety.
dealing with their own thought processes and
Shout out to
demons.
Joseph. Yeah. So.
Yeah, congrats, Joseph.
Yeah.
good
One of
job.
our cohorts, deeply anxious guy. I mean, he'll be the first to admit it, but he finally got his he finished all his credits, but he finally walked this year. But anyway, sorry. All right. Your train of thought. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes, I have come across a lot of. I think I just. It's hard for me to tell because I attract anxious people. I don't really like
Attract as in like a dating situation
no,
or friendship?
just friendship.
Okay.
It just generally
People,
across
yeah.
the board.
Yeah, like you walk on the street and like, these anxious people
It's
start.
like, they can see it in me and I can see it in them, and so it's.
I feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, you're drawn to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, let's open this up. I mean, is it because the profession itself? Is it like, what's the cause? They talk about dual causality. Is it because the craft of writing creates anxiety, or is it because the craft of writing attracts anxious people? Which is it? Is chicken or the egg? Have you guys given this any thought, or not so much? Or
I mean, I think it's different for each person. I would say I definitely became a more anxious person when I started writing, because so much of going into it is like, I mean, so much of being good in a writer's room is that people like you. And so all of a sudden and I went through a lot of my life being like, I don't care what people think. Like I hit a plateau in my life of like coming out and being out and proud and like not caring in high school anymore, not caring in college about like what people think of you and any of that. So you have like that mentality and you're like, good, I'm solid. Like I'm going to get through life because like I just don't give a fuck.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And then you're in this like writer situation and like everyone is telling you like, hey, just be likable so that they like keep you around. And then you're like, what? And then all of a sudden like that's all in your head. Where it's like all I have to do is have people like me. And I mean, yes, you have to be a talented writer, but at the same time it's just like it's a very group dynamic situation where you want people to like you, and then all of a sudden you're doing everything in your head being like, oh god, like I hope I'm not pitching too much, or I hope I'm not saying like dumb things, and like you just start getting crazy in your head. And so that's sort of the anxiety that builds on it. But so it's like that.
Now, I guess that's where the hiking and the camping comes in. It's kind of like to depressurize that anxiety, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, like when you're just out there walking around, I don't have to like prove myself
to a tree or something.
Just like kind of zen out. I try to be as calm as possible, so
that's good. Yeah.
I don't freak out too much.
Okay, Laura, correct. So Laura's my go-to. She's my counsel in LGBTQ things. If I ask Vicky about her coming out story, is that too stereotypical, or is that okay?
I think it's up to her.
Okay.
I don't know if that's I don't have a universal, one.
Right. The fact that I'm asking you.
The fact that you're asking me and are diverting
God, I
the question
failed.
to me. a white
Yeah.
queer person.
Well, Laura has to text the embassy
yeah.
to make sure it's okay.
Yes.
I can't. I don't know what
it's
to
okay.
do.
No, it's
Yeah, I'm
okay.
kidding. Yeah.
No, I
so-
can talk about it. It's okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
don't
let's
mind,
let's backtrack a little bit. Like
Yeah,
in
that's fine.
Milpitas, when did you kind of know that you were not attracted to the opposite sex? I guess.
Well, I mean, I didn't come out till college, so I did like date a couple boys in high school. Just because, like, I mean, the attraction was like, oh, I think this person's really cool.
Oh,
And
the
I think
attraction,
we
yeah.
probably would have been better off if we were just stayed
Homies.
friends.
Yeah.
But there was, social pressure.
Social
to, like,
pressure, yeah.
to date.
Because you went to prom and stuff too. I think I saw your prom picture.
I know.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
prom queen, James.
Oh shit,
You're
you
prom
were.
queen.
Get it right.
You are very likable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But
That's true.
that aside, but I wasn't like super girly. I'm pretty much exactly what I was
Oh.
now than I was then. But I didn't come out till college because I like left, my hometown. I got to be like going out on my own. I'm gonna reinvent myself, and like I sort of came out as like bi is like what a couple of people do as like a stepping stone. It is a real thing, but for me, I came out because I didn't want to like delegitimize like all the relationships I had in the past because I was like, hey, I didn't want to be like just the finger to all those guys, but. So I started came out as bi, and then sort of had to admit to myself that I had like a huge crush on my best friend in high school at the time, or like one of my best friends, and like.
Do I know her? Anyways,
Yes, I'm sure you do. But
yeah.
She'll remain anonymous.
I hope I didn't message that. Just for our audience, I text messaged I Facebook messaged my high school crush today because. Sorry, this is the tangent.
No,
So,
that's okay.
So basically, MHS we have a alumni 2002 alumni group, and then they're talking about crushes, right? And I was just like, I wrote a funny thing. I didn't say the name, but I just wrote like a funny thing. Oh, I had a crush on a girl with short hair, and another girl with wavy hair, and one girl was a sophomore, blah blah blah. And then I started thinking about it, like, fuck, what's she doing right now, And then like Facebook. I look her up. I'm like, okay, we're not friends. So I'm like, fuck, should I do it? So this whole weekend I was being kind of anxious about like, should I message her or not? And the fact that I carried all this anxiety, I was like, you know what, fuck it, just say hi and see how she's doing. Why not?
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. So today, speaking of anxiety, today has been a very anxious day because I sent that message like around lunchtime, and I've been like trying to do my errands and stuff, but I'm kind of checking the phone. But,
Yeah. Has she messaged you back?
No, but
okay.
you know what? That's okay
Stay
because
tuned.
there's a lot of people don't use Messenger. Like a lot of people,
Maybe she doesn't get
Yeah.
it.
maybe she doesn't.
get
She
it.
doesn't have the app.
Yeah.
It's tough. That app is so stupid.
It's so
Yeah.
wonky.
Really-
So,
I
like-
have a lot of messages on that I miss because I just
Right.
don't check
Yeah,
it. That
yeah.
So
often.
what I have to do is I have to go back to Milpitas, find her, and this.
No,
I'm
I
kidding.
wouldn't recommend
Yeah.
that.
I'm kidding.
This has turned into a true crime.
True
podcast
crime. No,
so
sorry.
quickly.
This is where I step in.
This
and
is where-
Yeah.
This is where Laura stops me and uses
Yeah,
her.
the
Yeah.
serial
Okay.
music starts.
So Serial season 1, by the way. Yeah, then season 2 was not that good.
That's
But,
when James
Uh,
moved to Milpitas.
You like season 2?
I didn't listen to all of it,
Okay.
but I
Season
like
two.
I like
Season
the,
one, you can't start off with
I like the
a
idea
murder
of it.
and then
Yeah.
season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, season
But
1,
it
I
goes
was
AWOL.
like,
I
the
don't know.
socio-political ramifications.
I guess.
like-
I couldn't stick with it.
Yeah, I couldn't stick with it either.
Again, I did not finish it.
Yeah.
I wish that I liked it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So let's. You liked a girl in
Back
high
and forth.
school. Did you ever? So what happened? Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, we're friends now.
Great, yeah.
So
So when did you realize this in college that you
I
had
realized
a
that in
huge-
college, I sort of like,
Because you were still
it's
best
like in
friends.
retrospect,
Yeah.
there was like moments in high school that were like dramatic or whatever, or very emotional for me, that at the time, Fortune Feimster has this like great bit that she does where it's like, she is, which I relate to very much, where you just got upset because your best friend is like, has a boyfriend now, and people are like, why are you so mad? And I'm like, because she's my best friend and we're not hanging out anymore. And you have this like just crazy reaction to something, and you just deem it as like a deep level of friendship. And then it's like, in retrospect, you go in college, you're like, oh,
You unpackage it.
no,
Yeah.
that wasn't it. Yeah, I liked her more than a friend. So there was that realization. And then just, I mean, in college, I was just around, I had a girl that lived across from me that ended up being queer, and she, like, just, like, sniffed it out in me. Like, she knew that I was, like, curious, and, like, invited me to this party. She invited me to this party, and, like, that was, like, full of just, like, queer people, and I just, like, had this moment where I stepped into this party and felt like I was with my people.
With your people, the sense of belonging.
Sense of belonging, yeah. I had a very good high school experience, but I just didn't have necessarily what I found in college of just being around like queer people of color, and just having that experience, and just being exposed to it, and it clicked. Something clicked, and I guess that's how you.
I mean, would it be fair to say, being a Milpitian myself, like, it's not something that is really openly discussed when we were in high school. Yeah, I mean, it was around, like, some people
there was a Rainbow Alliance, but it wasn't big. There was like a handful of people, and then you just thought they were, I think it was mostly just like theater kids. And and the vibe was interesting, because it wasn't that it was like a very, like, I think you could have come out. I don't think it was necessarily a very scary homophobic environment.
No.
It's just, it wasn't. There was a couple people that were out that I knew were out.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't, at least for me, and it was mostly like family pressure to, like, not come out, because not knowing how my parents were going to react.
Yeah.
And just, no, you're not, like, exposed. You're just not sure. There's a lot of just, like, uncertainty about what you're feeling, and because you don't have any, like, growing up for me, like, I didn't really have any queer role models that were, like, out and proud. Like, Ellen wasn't around yet, you know, dancing around on her show. So you just didn't have that. And so you just kind of, like, kept it in until you could go away to college and become somebody different and new.
And your family is Vietnamese Chinese, or just strictly Vietnamese?
Vietnamese Chinese.
Vietnamese
so
Chinese.
My dad is Vietnamese. And my mom is Chinese but grew up in Vietnam.
So she's a Hua Chao. She's a overseas Chinese. Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys speak Cantonese or Vietnamese?
We speak Vietnamese at home.
Okay.
So, because my dad doesn't, he only speaks Vietnamese, my dad. And then my mom speaks both Cantonese and Vietnamese.
So I guess conversational, you're fairly fluent, yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I can talk to my parents. And then, like, kind of order food sometimes.
Sure.
And then, I think when I'm home, my Vietnamese does get a little better because I'm more immersed in it. But outside, there's, like, a lot of pressure. My wife's always like, talk to them in Vietnamese. I was like, no. They're going to make fun of me. I'm going to sound so dumb. But it's like, I understand more than I can, like, speak I guess. Yeah. Like, I can always, like, understand what's going on, but it's hard for me to, like, reply sometimes.
Right. So,
I got a question. How did your parents react when you came out?
There we go. Dan stole my question.
So
this was in college, I guess.
This was in college, yeah. So it came out in probably the most dramatic way possible. So in college, I made a short film about a girl in love with her best friend who get caught by a disapproving mom. So it was like everything just coming out of me.
Where can we watch this?
It's been, all the copies have been burned.
Oh, wow.
So it's I had that, and I brought it back because I came out to all my friends from high school at that point. I think everybody knew except for my parents. And so I brought the short film back with me. I mean, like, I think maybe subconsciously I was like, maybe my parents, I didn't hide it in the best place. I just kept it, like, in a bag that was, like, open and exposed. And so my mom, like, saw the film, and while I was out hanging with some friends, I came back home and she was like, Vicky, can I talk to you? And so I went into her room and saw that, like, the DVD box was, like, open on the bed, and she had, like, watched this film, and she sort of just, like, pointed to the movie and was like, what is this about? And I was like, well, and...
Are you an actor in it, or...?
No, I'm just, we all had to, it was, like, part of our project, so we all had to, like, write and direct our own short films at the time.
So you're not the actor that's
I'm
coming
not in
out.
it, but it was, like, very clearly about, like,
Yeah.
two girls, like, there's, like, a kissing scene and, like, a mom that cries because she's sad about it. It was not great, but it was what I was feeling at the time.
It's what you needed to do, yeah.
And so, I don't know. I'm really bad, like, when it's uncomfortable, I just start laughing. So I just started laughing a lot. And my mom was in tears, and I was laughing at her. It was a really bad situation. And I'm like, I don't mean to laugh at you. I just feel so uncomfortable, and I don't know what to do. And just, I had to come out to her at that point, and it was just like, well, Mom, like, I'm a lesbian, and it was tough coming out. Like, she and I didn't have, like, it wasn't an easy coming out, but it was a lot of like tears, a lot of conversations, and some more tears, and some like frustrating conversations that had to be had. But I think I got very lucky. Like, I think my mom had, like, like you hear a lot of kids like getting disowned and just their parents never talking to them again, and so that very well could have been my journey. But my mom, she had to have as much patience with me as I had to have with her. Because, I mean, I get it. You come out and just, like, your perception of your kid is just very different from what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
My dad's reaction was great, though, because we went downstairs to tell my dad, and I came out to him, and he just, like, stared at me, and he's like, okay, well, just, graduate and get a job. I'm like, cool, Dad, got it.
Papa
like, he's
Lou.
very, like, just very, like, by the book, like, because he's not an emotional guy at all, so he was very just like, okay, does this mean anything bad? No?
Yeah.
Okay, went back to it, and, and I have a brother who knew at the time also, and so I felt bad. Mostly I felt bad for my mom because she asked, she was like, does this person know? Does this person know? And I was like, literally, Mom, all of Los Angeles knows. You're the last person to know. I'm like, everyone knows except for you.
Oh,
I'm
God.
very sorry for that. But it, she's the hardest person to tell. And it's
Yes,
just like, but here we are.
Yeah.
A couple years later, she's, after, yeah, I mean, she's great about it now. She knows my wife. She's very accepting. We had a wedding. Everyone was there and
Okay.
happy. But I think it was, I will say, I think it took up to, I mean, he and I had been together for 5 years. I think it took the wedding for my mom to actually see that I was going to be okay. Like, I think she still had her reservations about, not Haley necessarily, but just, like, thinking that my life was going to be very difficult and a struggle
Right.
because I was, quote unquote different. But she had to see that at this wedding we had a ton of family and friends around.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
everything was, the wedding was, like, again, like, normal, like, quote, but
Sure.
she had to see that we're doing okay,
Right.
we're happy, and, like, everyone is happy for us, and people care about us, and so she had to, like, actually physically see all that to, like, really take it in and be happy for us, so.
To go through that process or the ritual of marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, how are you on time? I'll give you the last questions to you before you have to go. Yeah.
I don't have a last question. I was just thinking. I just wanted more. I wanted to know more about the writers' room. If I had more time, I would totally ask you a ton of questions about it.
Yeah.
But I have to get my mom to the airport at 5 a.m. tomorrow.
Oh, no.
So.
Well, I mean, what's one question you want to ask?
I mean, you're credited for some episodes at Superstore, and then how does it come about that? I mean, I don't know how many people are in the writers' room for any given show, but if your stories are selected, do you and your writing partner just go off and write that screen, or that episode, and then go from there, and then for the next episodes, you just keep on pitching ideas until one's picked up again?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's that process is always interesting. So in a writer's room, even though your name is on an episode, it's a very collaborative process. So everybody at the beginning of a season, we're all pitching stories. A writer's room can have anywhere between like 8 to like 15 people, or like even 20 sometimes. There's like some huge rooms. But at the beginning of the season, everyone's just like, everyone pitches stories, and you just have, sometimes the showrunner will have like a general arc for a character that they want to address. So you're kind of just pitching as many stories as you possibly can. People are like adding stories, and we're combining other people's pitches and stuff like that. And so as a room, you're sort of breaking out stories. So episode 1, everyone will like help pitch in, like, how does this story break out? And from there, people are basically assigned an episode. So it's not necessarily that it's your idea that's going to be written. Like, your pitch might be someone else's episode that they're writing out.
That fits into this overarching structure that's already been broken.
Yeah, and so everyone's
okay.
like, as a room, you're like breaking the stories together, and then you get it to a point where it's kind of like a story outline. And so from there, you get assigned an episode, and that writer or writers will take it and write as like an official outline for it. And then you bring it back to the room, and everybody gives their notes, and the showrunner has the final say. So they'll give their notes. Everyone will pitch like jokes within each scene. But you kind of like, you're sort of like the person that's kind of like directing the episode. So even your name is on it in the sense that you spend the most time with the episode because you're writing the original outline. And then after the outline, you go off and write the original writer's draft.
Okay.
And you're writing sort of like the bones for it, but in conjunction of like taking other people's ideas and putting it into like actual dialogue and scenes and stuff. And then you bring it back to the room, and then everyone like, you know, everyone reads it and is like, this scene didn't really work, or this could be funnier, or like you punch things up and you alt lines and you alt jokes. And you just kind of go from there, and it's like, it's a lot of back and forth of just, and as a writer, you can kind of be in there and to be like, oh, well, this scene is supposed to make like this scene work, and you kind of just like, you have an overall picture of the episode, and you try your best to sort of like steer the ship in the right direction, kind of a thing, with the help of all your writers. And then usually if your name is assigned, then you're also on set while the episode is shooting.
Okay.
And that's when you have like, you know,
Producing
you're speaking
credit, or
yeah, I mean, everyone has like their own title, and they are on set for it, and you're kind of there to sort of make sure that the showrunner's vision is being heard. Because like for television, you always have a guest director usually.
Okay.
And so they're the ones that they have a vision too, and they'll have their own ideas. But as a writer, you sort of are there to keep the tone of the show, because you know, sometimes you'll know it better than like an outside director if they're directing an episode for the first time.
Because they're usually like work for hire, right?
Work for hire, and like you know, they're all great, but it's like sometimes they'll have a pitch that doesn't quite fit with the tone of what you know your showrunner likes. And it's like, oh, he doesn't really like, even like shot ideas. It's like, we don't really like do those kinds of shots. We're more like the kind of show that we stay, we don't get too close. It's like stuff like that you're just aware of because you have the input of all the writers and you have the input of the showrunner itself. And then you're on set to like pitch different jokes and stuff also. If a lot of times actors will read lines and they'll be like, you know what, this isn't working. And in that moment, you have to just kind of be like, okay, what are some alts that we can do?
So that's your job, is to give alternate, like, okay.
Yeah, and then, I mean, sometimes you'll have alts also from the room, and then sometimes just stuff comes up that you didn't think was going to be an issue, but, you know, right, like, it's just like stuff will come up and you're like, yeah, that's not working. Like, you just see it on its beat, and you're just like, you're right, the scene isn't working necessarily, so let's try and rethink of it, and then... So, yeah, it's a very, very collaborative process,
right.
And so...
Now, is that the end? So then do you work, but then post-production, someone else takes care of that and all that?
Yeah, so there's an editor, and then usually the showrunner or the executive producer will have like final say of the cut, but there's various cuts. So you have the editor's cut of the first, so they'll take it, and then you have the director's cut, so they'll go through it in a pass.
Okay.
And then you do have the like writer's cut, producer's cut, so we'll be able to take a pass at it.
Okay.
And then you have the final cut, which is like the showrunner's cut.
Wow.
Showrunner, like executive producer's cut, and they are usually the last person to have it. But I mean, and in between all this, you get notes from studio and you get notes from network. So there's a lot of hands and a lot of voices involved. So, and the network studio notes are, you know, you take them or leave them, but you know, because we're all trying to make like the best product. So but it's not always like, sometimes it's like the notes are contradictory to what you think is going to be good, and so you have to like figure out a way to make things work.
Now, as a writer, are you do you have that authority to say, hey, this studio note does not work? Yeah, I don't care who's it from, but I gotta stick to my guns? Or
I mean, I don't necessarily have the right to say that.
That's the showrunner, I guess.
It's the showrunner's ultimate call, and yeah.
I got you.
I won't spill ill of the people that are hiring me, but
sure, no. They sometimes probably give you good notes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like everyone is just trying to, like everyone's coming in from a different perspective. You know, you're coming from it from like the creative perspective of like, we just want to tell funny jokes,
right?
Like especially as like us as writers, we're like, let's just tell the funniest jokes, and then like other people are looking at it as like, what appeals to the audience right now? This like audience loves like a good heartfelt moment in this, or like, you know, they like a lot of background story, and like, or someone else is looking at for like, what's the bigger picture of the arc of this? So it's just like coming from it from various different perspectives. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to unfortunately cut off so my mom can get some sleep.
Awesome. Okay, well, Dan, thanks for joining us.
Wait,
Yeah.
Dan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Did your mom like Fast and Furious 5?
Oh yeah, she doesn't understand all the dialogue. Obviously, she's from Japan,
Okay.
so she just wanted an action movie. I showed her MI4 yesterday, and she really liked that. She didn't like MI5 as much.
Oh, okay.
I know that
Your
because
mom's
she didn't want to
really
bother finishing
action.
Yeah, action films.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
that's cool.
it translates easily.
Yeah.
Right. Like how's her English level? It's like okay, or
It's just okay. I mean, she can get by, but she's not going to hold a conversation in English anymore.
gotcha. She didn't see Tokyo Drift then, or
that the
That's a
third one?
garbage movie.
is that the worst one?
Yeah, dude.
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, damn! It has Asians though.
That's
Finally.
what I've heard.
I only saw 7.
But the the like main character is a white dude who's like
Yeah.
Paul Walker.
and
It's a kid. No. It's a
No?
kid from
no,
Sling
it's
Blade.
a guy who's not Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Paul
Walker
not
and-
Paul
I'm gonna
Walker.
speak
Paul Walker and
Paul
Vin
Walker,
Diesel are
and then I
both
was
not
like,
in
oh,
it.
wait, he passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tragically, I
R.I.P.
should
Yeah.
do that.
R.I.P. Paul Walker. But I didn't know that.
Anyways.
So he's not in Tokyo Drift.
All right, Dan. So,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry, Dan.
Sorry.
We gotta
Dan,
digress.
let's chat
I
next
just-
time.
Okay.
This is obviously a rich topic.
You still
so
need
we'll come back to
you
it.
need to pick up your dog food, by the way. But yeah, okay.
Bye,
Oh, yes,
Dan.
I-
Good to
Bye,
talk to
bye,
you
Dan.
again.
Nice meeting you.
Good talking. Bye.
So we can keep talking.
Yeah.
Dan, you can leave, I guess.
He's gone.
Let's see where we at. We're at almost an hour.
Just to clarify, Paul Walker is in it, but he's not the main character of that movie. Yeah.
That's weird.
He's kind of like a secondary.
I thought he was in all of them.
Is that a spoiler or I guess I
Not
don't know.
really.
Not really. Okay. He did like surprise appearance or
Who's the
something.
main guy?
He wasn't in any of the other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
He was
obviously
just like
didn't work.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
like, put Paul and
Yeah.
Vin back in it.
He was the most like unmemorable white dude.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So up to you. Depending on your time. Right now it's about 10ish. Yeah. Maybe we'll go for another 15ish minutes or something like that.
Sure,
Or
yeah.
20. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
I think Milpitas is an interesting place for like. It's not conservative really, but it's more like there's this unspoken like tons of Asians there, by the way.
Yeah.
Huge. Like I didn't really find that many. I didn't really understand this whole like. I understood like racial dynamics a little bit, but not in the way until I went to college, where I saw a lot more white people, a lot more black people, and these racial dynamics, especially with dating and Asian men, like you know, Asian male heterosexual perspective of like trying to like get chicks, and they're like, wait, but I'm not like the norm. I'm like the alternative choice, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not like the first choice, and I was just like, what? But I was the only choice back in high school. I was like we're all Asian.
Yeah, everyone's Asian.
Everyone's
Yeah.
Asian. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that you did touch upon like there's kind of this unspoken, maybe pressure. I don't know but I love Milpitas though. I love going back,
Yeah.
and I think there's an ease to that area compared to, I guess there is a certain anxiety I feel in LA because it's so close to the industry or whatever, and people fronting. But there's nice people here too, like Laura's from LA, so yeah. And I do think that it's that kind of NorCal lens I had to shift. You know, it's like oh, I'm from NorCal, so you know LA sucks. But I'm trying to be a little bit more open minded. I definitely think. But the move for you, how the transition to LA, did you like it or?
I mean, it was difficult first. Like I said, like right after I graduated college, I was like, do I move back to NorCal? 'Cause I miss it so much.
Because
And
you were
it's,
so
like, different vibe.
homesick.
But
Yeah.
I will say, like, I love LA. You
Okay.
know, and I will defend it to my death.
Wow.
Because I think it gets a lot of hate. And,
For sure.
But I think I don't know. I've found so much happiness in LA that it's like hard for me to hate it because it's, you know, I found success in like obviously my love life and like my career and just like I have like a really great group of friends now that I think I wouldn't have found if it wasn't for LA and it's like anything you want to do, you can do here. Like any kind of food you want to eat,
Yeah.
you can eat. It's just like, it's amazing. There's so many facets of LA. Because I think people think, I don't know, for some reason, when people hate LA, they hate like very specific parts of LA.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like they don't.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, have you been to like this area? I was like, have you been to
Yeah.
even like downtown LA? And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Like you hang out there? And it's like, yeah, there's so much to do. There's like anything that you want to do, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's great. And it's like, you know, especially being like a queer person of color, it's like West Hollywood, as you know, as grody it can get. It's like, I mean, it was amazing to be young and gay at that time and have a place like West Hollywood to go to like be silly and make mistakes. But like, you know, and so you're just like, that's great. And you have like the freedom and accessibility to do that. And I think yeah. So I really like LA.
You want to support LA at all, or
I love it. I didn't like it, or at least I thought I didn't like it growing up. But I mean, it was probably just like a petulant, like I want to be anywhere but where I came from type of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, LA is great.
Okay.
It is really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything Vicky said.
I guess because I've been, you know, Laura knows this, but like I've been dating a lot in LA, and I think what I've done is I've attached my dating frustration to this, you know, this amorphous place. When someone says they hate a place, it's like, what do you mean by that? Like, what specific area? Do you hate the people? To say you hate a place it's kind of a vague statement. Like, we have to break it down. So what I think I've broken it down to is like I've connected my frustrations, dating frustrations, probably with the place. And, you know, I've had LA people say, yeah, LA is probably not the best place for dating. But, I mean, so going back to Vicky's, so sorry, I always talk about me, but...
No.
But, like...
It's your podcast. You gotta know you, too, man.
Thank you. So, but, like, what, can we dig into, like, you mentioned your love life. Like, did you meet your wife? Is she from LA?
No. Well, she went to UC Irvine, and we met through like mutual friends. But she's actually from Northern California, also.
Okay.
But we didn't know each other back up there. No, like she lives
Not
in a
from
town.
Milpitas, I guess.
No, like
okay.
Fairfield. So it's
Okay.
like roughly an hour away. So it's
Wow.
like we went to different schools and stuff. But yeah, we met through mutual friends. One of them I dated, and so and it was.
Oh, actually, we can take off the
James,
headphones.
An aside, that is very common in the queer community too.
We can take it like this.
Yeah, because they were only for Dan, I guess. Yeah.
He just ignored all of my
she was
insider perspective.
No.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It was an important point.
Oh, yeah. It's very common for people, especially in the lesbian or queer communities of queer women, for like interdating and kind of incestuous stuff to go on.
Yeah.
Not like real incest.
No, I know.
That was me. You looked really confused.
Not
after
British
I said
incest,
that. Not
but
like inbreeding.
Shout out to British people. We know.
Yeah.
We love you. Yeah. We love you.
No,
So
but-
incestual, in like basically within groups of friends, you will
Yeah.
introduce, say, hey,
Exactly,
this
yeah.
is my friend.
Yeah,
you know.
we dated. Here's this other person
Oh.
I dated. Why don't you guys date now?
Oh, because
And then,
in the heterosexual world, men are very territorial. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I dated that girl.
Sure.
You can't date her anymore.
Yeah.
Like, there's
right.
that.
There's
yeah.
the is it a bro code?
It's kind of like a bro code. Yeah.
What
yeah.
is it, the
Is
bro?
it,
The
is
bro?
it the bro?
The bro-
The code of bros?
No, it's
Bros.
the bro code, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a testament because, like, I think being a lesbian and it's like your group of friends is also your like dating circle, you know. So it's like you meet
Wow.
these people that
That's so
you're
amazing.
drawn to because you feel
Yeah.
like supported by this community.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's also
Yeah.
who you're going to date, probably, you know. And so it is like the stereotype of like you break up and you stay friends. Like I am actually friends with like all my exes for the most part, like
Yeah.
except for like maybe one I can think of.
What
It's a thing.
what's wrong with men and heterosexual? Like, yeah, we like I can't be. I recently Facebook friended my ex like a year ago, but like I kind of regret it because I don't want to see any pictures of her and her husband, or you know. So like,
But I think it's just like the pool is so much smaller.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
straight people are like, okay, bye, and then like a turner, like they
Yeah,
just go
there's
somewhere else. They're everywhere.
Millions and millions. Yeah.
yeah,
So, like,
billions maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
And it's not true for all lesbians and
Oh,
stuff, but it's
sure.
just like it's like like once you break it down, it's like, especially for like being a lesbian and then being an Asian lesbian, it's like, you know, you start off with a big circle and you only get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so it's just like, and then you're like LA, like Asian lesbians, it's just like, so everyone just ends up like knowing each other. Like, yeah.
So there's not, because of that, do you find any sort of like, is there any conflicts at all? Like, hey, you know,
Are there,
like,
I mean, is there any drama?
Yeah,
like
you're
drama.
dating my ex. Like, I thought we were friends. You know, that's what guys, you know, like I real talk. Like I would feel weird if my friend dated my ex. You know, yeah. Have I dated a guy, one of my friends' exes? I've thought about it, but I don't think I have.
I think that there's definitely conflicts and drama around that, but I think that there's less of a choice, and like you kind of have to keep your community. Like it's also a matter of like, these are the people that are that truly understand you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, so it's kind of a different thing.
Huh.
Because they're also like we say like family with an R.
Yeah.
So they're
a
like,
lesbian thing?
No, like and me and my friends, like there's just like, or like there's that, and there's also like chosen family. So it's like these are like my chosen family, because it's like some people just don't have, you know, the option to like cut someone out of their life because it's, you know, because it's like you made such a connection with somebody.
But yeah, so going back to your wife, like, was there that? So she was a friend of a friend.
Friend of a friend.
And you guys just hit it off, or like?
Well, we started off as friends. We were friends for probably like 2 years before we started dating, because we were never, like when I met her, I was interested in somebody else, and she was kind of getting out of a relationship or still in one. It was unclear, but essentially we were never like single at the same time. It just never like kind of worked out. In that way. But timing, and then friends for 2 years, and then I learned that she had always had a crush on me. She claims that she gave me some very clear signs, but I will to this day say that they were not clear at all. I mean, she'd be like, you know, like I would sit next to you, and I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, what does that mean?
There was just an empty seat next to me. So you said, and she was like, you know, like I would laugh at your jokes, and it's just like, well, I'm funny.
Yeah, duh.
And everyone else is laughing. But it was just stuff like that. But we ended up going to this event together. Similar stuff happened. We ended up going to this event together, and we had a mutual friend that was kind of like, hey, you should ask Haley out. And like, would go to Haley, like, hey, you should ask Vicky out. And
oh,
kind
wow.
Of like, just like matchmaker a little bit. And
yeah,
we ended up like asking each other out at the same time. Which was like cute and gross. And it kind of like went from there. So we went on like a date finally. Yeah. We just hit it off. It was good. And I think we met at the right time. I think it really was timing, because we just met at a time where we were both sort of ready to be done with sort of like all the games and like all the bullshit that comes with dating very complicated and emotionally unavailable girls, which is all I was attracted to at the time.
Oh, really?
And so it was like a good time, because you know, and then
Like, do you find that? Sorry, Laura, do you have a question?
Oh no,
so you mentioned being Asian and queer. Like, is there what? I'm so curious, because this is outside my scope, but like, what's the race dynamics within the queer community as far as the lesbian community? I guess,
race dynamics in terms of like
something I hear for Asian men in the gay community is that, and I've kind of come across this. Even though I'm straight, I've been hit on by a number of men that, because I also work in like the art circles, I do some acting too, and like I guess from my experience so far, a lot of gay black men seem to have expressed interest in me. Yeah, and I do, and it's something I was trying to figure out.
I know.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out
Humble
like,
brag.
Like,
I don't know, no, but I do think that is there a fetish, because I've heard from some gay male Asian friends, like there's a little bit of fetishization of Asian men in the gay community. Yeah, right. There's exoticism of that, and I'm like, that's kind of gross, I guess, if that's the lens that these men are hitting on me with.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll admit I've been out of the dating game for a while, so I don't know what the I mean, within Asian lesbians, at least from my experiences, we tend to like stick to dating other Asian lesbians.
Oh, so
But,
some
like,
of your
I mean,
exes are,
but
yeah.
all of my exes are Asian.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
And my wife is mixed, so she's the first. She's Asian and white. And
Okay.
but I mean, I don't know. I would say it's not as strict because it's also like, I don't know. They tend to date any and all races. Like, yeah. So it's not necessarily. I think for me, it started off strong because like I just was attracted to Asian people because I was growing up in Milpitas. That's all you saw. And at the time, I had this very insane thought of like, there's just no Asian lesbians. I'm the only one. You know, like you just have this like crazy that you just think you're the only one always.
Yeah.
And so discovering that there was like a whole community of them, I was like, oh my god, like just like mind explosion. And so it's just like it's like this crazy thing, and so you just want to like basically meet as many people as you can because you just thought like this didn't exist. It's like,
and you found that in LA, huh?
Yeah, I found that in LA. It's like
That's
discovering Themyscira. It was just like, what? This exists? Like, oh my god, what have I been doing?
Discovering mascara.
No,
what?
Themyscira from Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
The island of Amazonia.
Oh, okay, I get it. Reference. I get this reference. I'm
That's
sorry.
not
How
even
does it-
group specific.
Oh,
It's not even very specific.
Okay, got it.
Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm learning.
Worldwide blockbuster, man.
What's that? Wonder Woman. Good film.
Yeah. So there's just that, but it's not to say I don't know. Everyone has, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like I'm not as prevalent of the necessarily like any strict like race relations. But
My understanding is that in the gay male community, there's much more kind of like specific subgroups and like kind of targeted, like I don't know, starting from like bears or like whatever, and also
bears. I know this one. This is like.
oh my god,
There's like bears are kind of like beefy men who have a lot of hair on their chest. Is this true or like?
sort of, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
like
Yeah.
a bigger
Yeah.
dude.
Bigger dude, not necessarily buff, but just kind of like
Yeah.
larger set.
Yeah.
and there's cubs.
Cubs.
They're like
smaller.
smaller versions.
Yeah. Otters are like in between.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a
and
lot of
there's-
subsectors. But
lot
like
of-
for lesbians, there's just like types.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they're all like it's like the labels. It's just all.
It's all very fluid.
Yeah, it's all
Okay,
very fluid.
all
and-
I mean,
Okay.
there's like the butch femme dynamic, but that's
Yeah.
kind of outdated.
I
at this
know.
point. It's kind of passe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because now there's like 1,000 labels you can do, just like play with because it's not. It shouldn't be something that you're boxed
Yeah.
into. It's just
Yeah.
like you could say I'm like a soft butch,
Right,
like
yeah,
granola.
hard femme.
Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
like there's
yeah.
all these like
Oh,
very
wow.
random
Yeah.
things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is like you use it to sort of like use it to express yourself and like help yourself express identity, but it's not necessarily something that you're like beholden to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that it shouldn't be. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be something that you're boxed into.
Totally.
Yeah, one thing, like I went traveling recently to Taiwan, and I was interviewing some actors for a role, and specifically American-born Chinese or Taiwanese Americans. And one actor I spoke to, he made a good point. It's like, and I think this is maybe most cultures, but he felt that in Taiwan, like everyone needed like figure out a label for you before they can like learn how to speak to you. So being like a Taiwanese American in Taiwan, you're an ABC. So if you're an ABC, American born Chinese, then I'm gonna speak to you in this way. Like I'll speak my Mandarin very slowly, or I'll try to speak English to you, or like but you're always perpetually not necessarily Taiwanese, you know.
Right.
And
Interesting.
and so he had a struggle of like trying to make it as a Taiwanese American actor. He wants to play Taiwanese roles, but like people would always question his Mandarin or something like that, even though he's been worked really hard. So I always it's interesting, this idea of labels, but I like this idea of fluidity, right? Because I mean, people change, right?
Yeah.
And also I always wonder, there's this idea of like, oh, the label, does it sort of crystallize you in a certain way, or can you use that label as a tool to like you said, express yourself, but not necessarily stick you into the mud into a specific way. So that's something I've come across a little bit more recently. It's like this idea of language, right? And how we use language to navigate the world. But there's also this danger of like where once you label something and you try, it kind of crystallizes into this idea of what does it mean to be Butch, or what does it mean to be Taiwanese American or ABC. And I don't know, I try to live my life where it's like I am who I am, and then I help define the labels. Maybe I am Taiwanese American, or I am from Milpitas, and then what does that mean? That means whatever. I mean, what I'm doing is attached to those labels, because those are facts. But I don't know. Does that make sense, or am I kind of rambling? Yeah.
No, I think it's, I mean, in the context of, I had a very good friend and mentor, Tracy Katakiriyama, who told me once, because like with writing, it's just like, she told me once, like, the personal is political. So a lot of like what you represent and your point of view is coming from can be very helpful, like, in your creative process. So it's like, what you're identifying as and the stories that you're telling, it's like for you just be telling a simple story of like you growing up, well, like in the relationship you have with your parents and like where you are to now.
Yeah.
And to you, it could just feel like a very personal story. But the fact that you're like Taiwanese American, it makes like a huge difference.
Yeah.
Because you're coming from a point of view that's not necessarily hasn't been like exposed as much or hasn't been like tread upon as much, and so we try and like, I mean, as a writer, like I've struggled a lot with like identity and like being like, am I writing as an Asian person? Am I writing as like a lesbian? And so it's just like, and like, or what does it mean when those two like merge together? Because especially growing up, like I felt very like outside of the Asian community.
Oh, really?
For a good while because I just didn't see as much acceptance especially within like the Vietnamese community. I just didn't see as much acceptance of being like queer at all.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, I felt like I had to sort of separate myself a little bit with my Asian identity because I was like, well, like I guess I am like, queer. So it's like,
as if it was mutually exclusive.
As if they're mutually exclusive. And that's how you just like, when I was younger, which is not. And so like, then I had to come to terms with the fact that I was like, they shouldn't be mutually exclusive, and there is a community out there of Vietnamese that are like LGBTQ, community. And so finding that then like shifts my perspective again of just being like, okay, now I'm like very Asian, and is that more important than being lesbian? So it's just like this like constant, which is, it's all conversation, it's all open dialogue, and it's all stuff that while you explore it, you make connections with other people and you find like resources to write from.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's changing, just like language, right? Yeah. It's something that's changing as you change. This idea of your identity and how you define yourself, and I think basically at the end of the day, we all want to be our true self, whatever that means, right? We want to be expressing our true, our true self,
I think it's really gender. Gender is like so just like on the forefront of like everyone is just like discovering gender in a whole nother way and how to express it. And like I feel like I'm old. I'm just like an old boring lesbian. I'm just like that's all I am. Like I'm just a lesbian, And it's just like there's so much else out there that I'm like I'm still learning. Even though like I'm like 33 now, and I like came out. So it feels like I came out so long ago, and like I'm still learning. Like how people are expressing themselves in terms of like gender and sex and all this stuff, and it's just like and it's great. I think it's all great. I think it's all like amazing, like how strong the youth are in terms of like expressing themselves. And I was like, I wish I had that kind of courage when I was younger.
Yeah, like a friend of mine, he's transgender. She now. He's she is so male to female. So male to female. And I was like, oh wow, I guess that kind of makes sense. Kind of you try to piece things, but you never know for sure. Like maybe he was just a different. So I like this idea now of where because basically it's just more options of how to express yourself or who you want to be. Now I think. I have this belief, I don't know if it's a belief I have, is that eventually people will, instead of like, hopefully as they get older, they can peel away and actually uncover more of who they truly are, whatever that means. Or they can discover the act of actually not adding on certain like things, but actually kind of like peeling away and being more aware of this this awareness of who you are. And that does take, learning and meeting lots of people. But at the end of the day, it's like this self-discovery of you peeling away, like, oh, okay. So I think that because there's more options, then if that person always wanted to be female, that option seems much more available now.
Yeah.
But of course, it's still not easy, obviously. Yeah. But let's see, where are we on time? Okay. Let's Laura, sorry, do you have anything? I always want to be democratic, Yeah.
Oh, hey, Laura, what's up?
Oh, hey, I see you. Oh gosh, no, not anymore. I just I was so ready to move on to the next.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess since you're on Superstore, maybe a Superstore question, and then we can move on to language corner. We'll talk about. Yeah, it's okay. I'm still thinking of mine. Something from our language that we want to share with an audience, something like a phrase or something, Vietnamese phrase.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry, I should have. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Okay, but about Superstore. Yeah, there's Mateo, the undocumented, and there's a disabled person. There's a lot of I think representation in that show. Was that a conscious choice, do you think, from all the writers, or from Jordan, the showrunner, or
Justin.
Sorry, Justin. God damn. Cut. Yeah. Justin S. Right? Yeah.
But I mean, I think casting was one thing, and I wasn't there for the original
season 1, yeah.
But so the cast just came together and everybody worked out. Everyone got casted because they were really funny and they were really great, And then when you looked at the cast, you're just like, oh my god. It's very diverse. I mean, you start off with America, America Ferrera. She was the main.
She's so great.
One, and so you already starting off with a very strong, person of color and a woman and just a very funny person. And
sure.
then it was just already from the get go, the show had a different tone from your usual sitcom that's out there. And then we looked at the cast and we're just oh my god, there's a lot of people of color on this show.
Yeah.
And we didn't even realize it. We actually have a lot of Asian people, which is, we always joke about it because it's supposed to be based in St. Louis. And
oh, really?
I think the population I think there's 4% Asian population, and they all work in Superstore on our show because we have so many Asian people in our show.
Yeah.
And so it was we just didn't realize that. But I mean, for me, I was very fortunate to jump onto this show and just realize that this cast was especially with Mateo, just an Asian person that was queer. I was yes,
yeah.
and and Nico is really funny. He's so funny. He's so amazing. And that's what all the cast is really easy to talk to, and they just made it a good environment to go in and kind of feel you're writing for people that kind of get it a little bit, a little more socially conscious, and which is always nice. It's just nice to go on a show, and which is not, I'm not necessarily trying to push and shove messages down people, but
right.
And I'm trying to, we try to do issue episodes. We try to do things that are relevant in the world and try to address things that are pertinent to our character. We have small things where Cheyenne is half Japanese, so we don't really address it until we had her wedding episode.
She speaks Japanese.
Yeah, and she was let's have her speak Japanese. And it wasn't a big arc, and it wasn't a story point necessarily, but we just wanted to show that, yeah, she's actually half Japanese, so let's see her, because she, the actress herself, can speak Japanese.
Oh, wow.
So we're let's utilize that, so it's small things like that, and Mateo's character, let's have him speak Tagalog, because Nico can speak Tagalog, so it's great to utilize who these people actually are in real life, and put it onto the show.
What's the Asian lady's name?
Kaliko.
She's hilarious. Yeah,
she's great.
Yeah,
I love her so hard.
I'm gonna walk to the bus stop then by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's great. She's so funny.
Is she Filipino or she's...
No, she's Pacific Islander. She's
Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, any Superstore questions for you?
Oh my god. I'll just jump in if I have a...
Okay, sorry, so I'll stop deferring to you. You just James, stop! I have a question. Okay.
I do have a question about about just writing. When you started writing, did you see yourself did you want to write for shows that were diverse in terms of casting, in terms of storytelling? Is that like something that you specifically kind of wanted to, the path that you wanted to go down?
I mean, I think,
or is that just, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I think for me personally, I always like, want to be around a lot of people of color and just write for that and like my personal stuff. But I mean, in terms of like what shows you're choosing, I don't know. I mean, you just kind of like take what you can when you're like trying to get work. You're just like, hire me. I'll write anything. Sure, I'll write about basketball. And I'm like, I don't know anything about basketball, but like you're taking these meetings and you're just like, oh, I love that,
yeah.
and
Oh,
you're just like,
wow.
I don't, because you're just trying to like,
I'm the perfect person for
yeah,
this.
no, I totally get this, and you're just.
Oh, so you have to do that, huh? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I need to learn this skill.
I mean, you're
like,
kind of selling yourself.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the meetings that you're taking, because again, I say like you're selling your ability to relate to topics. Like we took the meeting for Superstore. Me and my writing partner both have retail experience, so that was helpful for us because we understood already sort of the climate that the show takes place in. And so with other shows, you're kind of just. I mean, it isn't not always necessarily the case, but yeah, you're sort of like. You kind of take whatever job you can get at the time, and you just hope for the best, and you just hope that your voice gets in there, and that there's certain things that you have to say from your perspective that are important because of who you are. And it doesn't necessarily me, and I'm not even speaking from me as like a person of color, but even like you as a writer, like you've gone through experiences that no one else has.
Yeah.
Right.
And so your pitches will come from that place, and so, and you're sort of like. You're mixing a little of like the personal, but also like here's something that would be relatable to like the rest of America, and so it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll end with like so that's advice you would give to young writers or people breaking out. Maybe like 10 years ago, 23-year-old Vicki. Like what kind of advice would you give her? I guess do you have any advice for her or like?
I don't know.
No.
Take engineering classes. No, I'm just kidding.
Vicky, just getting out of college, or a analogous situation of like another, person of color, female, queer, getting out of college, not sure, but loves writing. What kind of advice would you give that person?
What sort of advice? I would say if you really like writing, it's tough.
Yeah.
And you have to be kind of tough. And I've said this
like tough as in thick-skinned, or sorry, yeah.
Yeah, like thick-skinned, but also just like if you really like writing, it's because it's just like it's like a landmine of an industry. So it's really just sometimes you get really lucky and you get into like a really good room that sort of helps you learn and helps you become better. And sometimes you get into a room where you feel miserable because you're just like. Why am I here? And you feel useless and like, so it really is just like, you have to navigate as carefully as you possibly can because it's like trying not to lose like who you are as a person also. Like, you're selling yourself in these meetings, but at the end of the day, like you don't want to sell out to the point where you're just like selling your soul, and writing for something that's like awful and like feels like you're betraying everything that you believe in. Sure. So there's a little bit of that and just, just keep writing and it's, and I would say the biggest thing for me is like writing and like getting your writing exposed as much as possible. Like having people read your stuff. If you, like I would do like when I was writing like poetry and prose, I would try to like put myself out there to like read it because you just need exposure and you just need the reaction. It might not always be good, and that's what you have to like be able to anticipate and like like you have to be able to be like, here's the shitty thing that I wrote, and so. Do you think it's shitty or not? And the first thing you write and complete, it's not going to be great. Like, it's always going to be bad. And like, but you're just going to rewrite until it becomes something that's decent.
Right. The first draft is always shit, they say.
Yeah. So, but you guys get that. But like, definitely getting like people to read your stuff, I think is important, and giving you like honest feedback. I think that is like very important.
And one good thing about LA is there's a lot of open mics, or there's a lot of places to. There's Tuesday night cafes to like kind of show your writing or like speak it. Cool. So this next segment, the last segment, is going to be called Language Corner, where we do a little phrase. So I will start while you guys go on your phones and find a phrase or think of a
I'm
phrase.
just gonna Google phrases.
Okay, sure.
From my own language.
From your own language, yeah.
Phrases from my language.
So for Mandarin, there's a phrase called 辛苦. 辛苦 means like suffering, right? But the thing about 辛苦 is kind of going back to like, you know, if you're probably in the writer's room like hours at a time. So I would say, oh, Vicky, 你很辛苦. You are very suffering. That's a little translation.
Okay.
But it's a compliment.
Okay.
So this gives you a little bit of a lens of Asian culture or Chinese culture, is that to say someone is suffering is a compliment, you know,
Okay.
because it's basically, wow, you've worked. Basically, it means you've worked really hard. 你很辛苦, or wow, 好辛苦. That's very suffering. That's very what's the adjective for suffering? That's very, that must have been very enduring or something.
Okay.
So that's the phrase for today is 辛苦, and you can say, oh, 你很辛苦 or 好辛苦. And I find it kind of interesting because then, when someone says that to you and you feel like, oh, dang, oh, I did work hard, you know, or I try. It helps, like, but then but then, like, you know, sometimes I'll just say, oh no, nali, like, oh no, I'm not. It wasn't that bad, or, you know, I tried to diminish it. But
Yeah.
in reality, it's like, yeah, I think the phrase kind of gives a lens of like, yeah, this idea of how in Asian culture that, you know, this is probably this idea of work ethic, right?
Yeah.
Is so important, and I think it's important for any field, writing, art, engineering, doctor. So. But anyways, that's my phrase. Yeah, do you guys have a phrase? Yeah.
I just came up with something.
Okay, yeah.
I think I may have used this before.
Okay, I can edit it out. Yeah.
Sure. One of my best friends is Korean American, and she introduced this Korean. I'm not even gonna try to say it in Jimmy Manyun?
I think so. Jimmy.
Here, I'm gonna let the Google lady say it. Google man.
Oh, Jimmy 많은.
It means burdensome.
Okay.
And apparently it's something that it's kind of like a slang term for like when somebody's being very mildly irritating or like is being like overly nice or like putting pressure on you because they're being so nice type of thing. Anyway, I've been using that a lot, and it's kind of awkward when you use it in English. Say, oh, you're being burdensome.
Is it a nice thing to say to someone, or
it's like a jokey thing to say, but it's kind of like, at least this is my interpretation of it when Grace, my friend, says it to me when she
Korean
says
girl named Grace, really? It's a very common Korean. Korean first name.
Yeah. No, I know other Graces with her last name as well.
Oh, okay.
When Grace says it to me, I interpret it as like it's like you're being extra.
You're being extra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
That's mine.
Nice, very nice. Vicky.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't have any like wise.
No, it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
I was looking at my phone, but I didn't find anything.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, what do you say to your parent? You know, it could be anything, like slice of life stuff.
Just look around the room and find.
Well, the one thing that we always say is "ja-ai," which is basically just like, "Oh my god."
Ja-ai.
Yeah, which is like you're kind of exasperated, and so that's the one phrase that my mom says to me all the time because she's constantly exasperated with me. So, but then I say that like I found myself saying it just like ugh, and it's just like it's kind of like it is just like oh my god, and so it's just that, and so everyone in my family says it because it's just like the phrase that you say, and so I found myself saying it to like my wife and like saying it to people and like or saying it like under my breath for like certain situations.
Does she know what it means now? I guess, or
yeah, she knows what it means now. I mean, it's not a curse word. It's just kind of like It's like equivalent of like rolling your eyes again. And so it's just kind of like, it's just that. And so that's like the one phrase I would say.
It's kind of like guttural, I guess. So, yeah.
It's very, I mean, Vietnamese is like a very guttural. Like, it's like in here.
Is your wife half Vietnamese, or what's the Asian? I guess
she is half Indo-Chinese.
Indo-Chinese, okay.
And half Michigan.
European, Michigan. Okay.
Half Michigan white. So.
Awesome. Well, okay. Any parting thoughts before we close this out? It's been a good one. Yeah. No. Cool.
I hope I made some sense.
No, you made totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah. And Laura, thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, James, and so great to meet you. And
thank you. Yeah, it's been fun.
Awesome. Okay.
Guys.
So then we're gonna do a sign out. Dan already signed out, but this is so this is James, aka Young. That's my middle name for the podcast. But okay, James, aka Young, signing off.
Laura signing off.
Vicky signing off.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care. And stop. Relationships getting you down. Yin and Young. Racism's making you drown.